There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you so much for joining me for this round two, reunite, whatever it's called, of this great conversation of a great friend once again. And I'll show the banner, which is brand new. That is not what I was trying to show, but you know what? We have it right here. Interview with TaylorTries round two. This individual we had talked before, which was I think back in May or
Yeah,
April.
well,
Somewhere around there, but now she is in a new setting and a new chapter of life, and also she has a brand new home in Utah. Well, making her journey from Encino all the way to Utah, which I think that was quite a bit of a journey. But now she has, with this opportunity, she also has a brand new upload schedule, which, if I can remember on spot here, it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for new videos on YouTube, and I believe as well as TikTok, which you can follow as well. And also she has a lot more stuff coming on, especially with Twitch streaming, which you can find her every Tuesday and Thursday twitching. I'm assuming gaming, or maybe we might just watch some cool jugglers around the world. So enough of the preliminaries, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Let me introduce you to the one and only TaylorTries. How are you?
Oh, thanks. I'm happy to be here. This is great.
So I always start these interviews off, as per usual, with a spitball or fireball question, because of course I always like to get the mood in. So last time we talked, I talked about when would the lip sync Fridays or those kind of those little Instagram hits would come back. However, I'm gonna kind of change it up a little bit, and I'm gonna ask, speaking about your new move, how has been the adjustment like for you, being from Encino all the way to Salt Lake City, I believe?
Yeah, it hasn't been that much of an adjustment just because I grew up here. I'm actually in Draper, which is just south of Salt Lake, but I grew up in Salt Lake for most of my life and then moved to LA. So luckily I have a lot of family. I have a lot of friends that I have been able to see socially distanced at least. And so that way it's been good. It's been an adjustment in some ways, mostly in really great ways. Like I moved here specifically to have more space, which I do. My apartment's great, and I have more nature. Like I take walks every day now, which I love, and just being around trees and mountains, which I grew up with. So it's really nice to be back in that. That has been one of the best parts. I don't have my furniture yet, so I haven't fully moved into my place and haven't been able to really get running in that sense. But, we gotta make it happen the way we can, and I'm operating out of a pretty empty space, and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that with this new opportunity, it gives you, like you mentioned before, this freedom to post more content and kind of focus on your YouTube career. So with this move, do you feel like that this is TaylorTries' next chapter, or would you feel like that this is TaylorTries just pumped up by 1,000?
Yeah, I think it's like a new chapter, a new era, whatever you want to call it. I've taken a couple, I think it's almost been like 2 months off of regular posting over the summer, just because I was working full time on a TV show and then also moving. So I just haven't been able to focus on this content. And this is what I want to do and I love. So this is supposed to be, I'm treating it very much like a full-time job. I'm doing something for it every single day, including filming, editing, streaming, all of it, posting. So it's definitely feels like grown up Taylor. TaylorTries 2.0.
2.0. Ooh, it sounds like a brand new system, like a gaming system that just comes out. It's like we had the original TaylorTries 1, but now we're upgraded to the 2020 into TaylorTries Part 2.
Yeah, there was the Nintendo TaylorTries, and now it's the Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo. That's actually funny because I love the Super Nintendo. Anywho, so with this said, of course, TaylorTries, for those who don't know, is a very famous YouTuber, a professional juggler as well. She also does a lot more than just juggling, though. She has done a lot of trying other things as well. That's kind of the main nucleus when it comes to TaylorTries, is just not showcasing her juggling, but also showcasing that she could try new things and, do the best she can to replicate the awesomeness of it, or just say, you know what, it's not for me. We definitely saw that in the trailer for the new, for the rebrand of TaylorTries, the YouTube channel. So I do want to talk to you about, trying other things as well, because I know we discussed about it in our last conversation, but I don't think we really kind of got into that far in that conversation. So can you talk about trying new things, especially now during a time when anybody can, have that time to try new things?
Yeah, that has always been my goal with TaylorTries, which is why I called it that. I mean, of course, there's the alliteration thing, and that's great, but TaylorTries was supposed to be anything. I can try anything. And I think that that's important for people to apply to their real life as well, because, I think that people get in their heads about, if I want to try juggling or I want to try basketball or skateboarding or something, it has to be like, it's like a big commitment. It has to be a big thing. And yeah, there is a monetary investment at the beginning of most attempts at something, but a lot of the time it's really small, and it's just a matter of just taking that step. And so for me, I take a lot of those steps in all sorts of random directions every single day. And I always have. That's just been the type of person I am, whether it's like a random craft that I want to do, or even like some home improvement thing in my house, or a sport or a skill or a hobby. It's what I love to do. I love exploring a new thing. I love trying something new. So definitely, there's always going to be like a juggling component to my stuff, because I love juggling, and I know a lot of my audience wants that. So I'm not going to disappoint in that way. There's definitely going to be a lot of juggling, but in this next batch of videos, I definitely want to just emphasize doing other things as well, and a broad spectrum, from sports to experiences to travel that I've done, and like crafts. Anything I do, I'm basically going to try to document it and share it with everybody.
And that's absolutely awesome, having that component of wanting to travel, wanting to try new things, like you mentioned before about sports, or anything of that nature, is absolutely amazing. I think, one of the things that you did try within, I believe, the last couple of months, I believe before COVID had hit, was the flair bartending. And
Yeah.
that kind of a cool experience to see, kind of mixing your passion of juggling, but with trying something new, is absolutely awesome.
Very hard. It's a very hard skill. I mean, in some ways, it was kind of easy, I think, for me in some ways because of the juggling. But it's just like juggling, but there's a lot more consequence when you drop, because the objects are heavy and they make a lot of noise. So juggling, you drop, you're like, oh, it's a little beanbag on the ground. Flair bartending, it's like tish, 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 tish. So I don't practice it very much.
Right. I mean, hey, everything comes with practice. Like I mentioned before, I always think that the saying process over outcome, I mean, it holds true. It's always about the process and learning and practicing. Even like myself, when I try to do a little bit of a Mill's mess or a Mike's mess, and it's like, I still can't get it. But hey, at least I'm still trying, and I'm still trying to improve.
And you do improve no matter what. I think anytime you try something, you get better in some way, whether you acknowledge it or not. A lot of people, I think, have expectations of when they think that they have succeeded at something, and in their heads, that's when they give themselves like a pat on the back. So for juggling, it's like when people can juggle 3, they're excited. I think that the key to learning stuff and getting making that a satisfying process is actually lowering that threshold a lot. So for me, it's like, if it turns out like crap, I don't care, because I've trained my brain to enjoy the process. And every time I to learn 3 balls, there's 100 other steps that people don't acknowledge that they're doing and that they're succeeding at, like throwing one ball. Throwing a ball up and catching it and like controlling where that goes is a pretty impressive thing. And people don't give themselves credit for that. And I think that's the key to success. And I think that's also the key to happiness in general. It's like lowering your expectations and your threshold for happiness.
Yeah, and that's absolutely awesome, especially with, like you mentioned before, lowering those expectations. I feel like that a lot of times, especially I found this in myself too, trying to improve my mental health and um, trying to not tell myself, hey, like you didn't do enough. At least I could be trying to say to myself, hey, I'm satisfied with what I did and try my best. So it's always best to kind of give yourself that self motivation, but knowing that you tried your best, I think, is better than just saying that I did what I did and that's it.
Yeah, I think if you measure your success based on attempting something, I think
Mhm.
that that's really valuable. Now, there's a lot of like kickback on that idea because of the whole generation that was raised on participation trophies and such. And I do think it's important to acknowledge loss and failure. Like, I'm not saying that you should be like, I failed, I win, because I don't think that that's a good message either. I think it's important to be like, this went wrong and I need to improve it. But I think that it's also important to recognize that failure only comes because you took a step. And taking a step is really awesome and good. And that's honestly the biggest success, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always awesome to, of course, you can never get that first place trophy, before you get that participation ribbon, and you're like, hey, I participated, but now I'm going to get closer to the first place first place trophy. But
Yeah.
speaking about first place and stuff like that, I do want to talk about one thing that you're very synonymous with, and that's the IJA festival. So I don't believe we had discussed this on the previous conversation, but of course this year it was canceled, I believe, due to COVID. And so, but every single year, I believe every single year since, if I remember correctly from our conversations in the past, I believe ever since 2015, I want to say 2014. I'm
I
not too
actually
sure.
don't know. I don't kept track.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but I know it's been a synonymous thing for you to travel to the IGA festivals, which is absolutely amazing. Make sure you guys go check that out. Link will be down in the description for all the highlights over the past few years. And of course, TaylorTries, of course, making content based on the IGA festival. So when talking about this, can you talk about kind of the importance for making a festival like this and how special it is to you as a professional juggler to kind of participate in as my grandfather would say, a kid in the candy store kind of experience where it's just so many people having the same passions as you and just kind of sharing that in one big festival.
Yeah, the IJA has been an important part of my life since my first one, I think, was 2008, no, 2009.
Okay.
And I was, no, 2008. I was 17. Um, and it was my first time like really going out on my own. I traveled there on my own. I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know anybody, and it completely changed my life. I up until that point, I was a very socially awkward person. I was a very shy person. I did not feel like I fit in anywhere. I wasn't popular in high school. I was kind of that weird kid. People thought I was too hyper, and all I wanted to do was play and juggle and do this weird thing that people thought was weird. So, walking into a gym full of people who also were awkward and weird and really into this strange hobby, it was the first time I felt really validated and normal in a sense. And it made me realize how like normalcy is just, it's relative and it depends on who you're around. And yeah, in regular life, a lot of people might feel really unwelcome and awkward and they might feel like they don't fit in. And that can add to depression, that can add to being really down on yourself and feel like there's something wrong with you. And I think it's really important to be able to find that group of people who are like you. And I think that that comes from trying things that excite you and interest you. And if you do that and you follow those threads, and then you find a community of people who are also into those things, it can completely transform your life and make you realize that you're not weird. Or maybe you are, but there's a lot of other people that are too, and you're not wrong. And that's super important. And the IJ is such a great place for people like that. I mean, there's a lot of people there that don't necessarily fit that as well. Like, there's not everyone there is socially awkward or whatever. But if you feel like you are, and you feel like you're just all you want to do is talk really fast about juggling, then go to a juggling convention, because not everyone's going to be like that, but you will find people like that. Or if you're really into yo-yoing or skateboarding, that's why it's so important to have groups of people and events that support connecting with other people like that. And so I love the IJA. It's been happening since like 1920 or something.
Yeah.
And it's maybe not, maybe 1930s, but it's been around for a long time, and it's been connecting jugglers for a long time. And it's morphed and changed, and it's just incredible. It's a great event. It's getting bigger all the time, and I'm very thankful for its role in my life. And again, I highly encourage anyone to go to the IJA. There's also local juggling conventions. If you're into juggling, go to clubs, go to conventions. Obviously, after chill out a little bit with viruses, but or if you're into something else, like you don't have to be alone in your interests. There are other people that are into your thing, and go find them, because it makes life so much better.
Oh yeah, especially when you share that same passion, that same love that you have for whether it's juggling, sports, or whatever the case may be. If you could find that connection with other people, I think that's the most great thing in the world. Because like like me and you, for example, we have different set of hobbies and set of passions, but we have that same connection in terms of like, hey, like we're passionate about what we do. We're passionate about showcasing that passion, and it's awesome to showcase it to the world, and that's why, boom, we're friends.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too, is just if you follow an interest that you have, whether it's a full-fledged passion or just something you're interested in, odds are you're going to meet other people who are similar to you in other ways. Like jugglers tend to have a lot of similar traits, because the type of person who gravitates towards juggling, tends to have those traits. And it's similar with a lot of different skills that I've tried, and then communities that I've seen within those skills. And there's crossover, and the fact that you were interested in learning juggling, even though it's not like necessarily your favorite thing, but you actively sought it out because you're a certain type of person. And I think that jives well with other people like that, like me. So yeah, I just think it's super valuable to go find things that interest you, and then you might eventually find something that excites you, and that's even better. So
yeah, it's awesome to find that new thing, or that, or something that you've wanted to do for a long time but never really got the chance or the time. It's always great to kind of, have that and just try it, like
yeah.
TaylorTries.
Yeah. It doesn't take as much time or energy to try something new as I think people think it does. So that's kind of my whole point that I want to start really driving home in my content, is really encouraging people that, especially with a little bit of guidance, which I hope to give. Like, if you want to try something that I try, I've kind of broken it down in a simpler way, and you can do the exact same thing. And it might take you an hour, it might take you 2, but like that, you can find an hour in your week. Don't watch the new episode of whatever TV show you're watching. Try to do this, like just one night, do something different. And I think it's just I meet a lot of people who don't do that at all, and like don't go out of their comfort zones and don't try things. And I think it's really good for our brains as humans. I think it's really good for our lives. I think it can counter a lot of the mental health stuff that we have going on and things like that. So
yeah, it's definitely a factor within mental health. But the thing that you mentioned earlier about watching your favorite TV shows, I know one TaylorTries that loves this one show called Mythbusters. And so, of course, for those who don't know, September is TaylorTries month because her birthday is coming up. But speaking about going off on that a little bit, we're going to kind of move aside from that and kind of talk about the Mythbusters type of thing. You've been a huge fan of Mythbusters for basically a majority of your life, and I do want to ask, where did that love and passion to watching a binge-worthy show of Mythbusters come from?
Oh, I think it's a generational thing. I know a lot of people that watched it. That's kind of in my age group. Just growing up. It was just a big show, and everyone watched it that I knew, and it really tickled for me, especially like all the parts of my brain that I like, the experimentation side of things, the sciencey side of things, but in like a fun, um, applicable way. And they tried stuff that really doesn't need to be tried. I mean, it's nobody really cares whether a myth is busted. Like, it's interesting, right? There's no like, it doesn't change anyone's life. It's just purely this idea of that was fun and interesting to find out. And that's kind of how I approach everything. So I don't know which came first, but I'm sure that Mythbusters impacted me a lot as a teenager, and I'm sure part of why I watched it was because I already was into that stuff. So it's a fantastic show.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, speaking about Mythbusters as well, you did go to a convention in Chicago where you did meet one of the Mythbusters cast members as well, and he did actually talk about you on your podcast. So, can you talk about that experience meeting him and then finding out that you were mentioned on his podcast?
Yeah, I got to meet Adam Savage, who was an incredibly kind, nice person, very enthusiastic and fun and respectful and sweet. We talked for a bit and about juggling, and he was excited, particularly by my overhead juggling videos, and thought that was really cool.
Mhm.
And he also can juggle, and I believe he can unicycle as well. He's
Ooh.
again, like, if you find people with similar interests, odds are you're gonna have a lot of other things in common. So
Mhm.
he also seemed to have a lot of similar hobbies as me, and was just a really good guy. We passed clubs a bit, and I think he worked on his club juggling a little bit, and that was fun. And then, yeah, when I went home like a week later, he has a podcast, I think every week or month, and mentioned the convention that we went to, and then also mentioned specifically me and my channel, and that was nice. It was so sweet.
Yeah, and I think that would be awesome being, mentioned by one of your heroes, just having that mention. I mean, I still like whenever it's a professional wrestler or a sports broadcaster, and I'm like, they know who I am? Like,
Yeah, I use the term heroes really or really strictly. Like, I don't I don't know. I don't personally feel like I have heroes.
mhm,
Um, I because that term to me means like, firefighters are heroes, and like
right.
people who save lives. But it is somebody I looked up to and continue to. His YouTube channel is really inspiring and does a lot of the similar stuff that I hope to do someday. And so, yeah, an inspiration for sure. And meeting somebody that your whole life you've kind of looked up to and been inspired by is pretty great, especially if they're nice people and they're like nice to you. And I feel that pressure sometimes because now people see me that way sometimes, like, which is bizarre to me. But I have people come up to me at conventions, or did, and act similarly, like flustered and excited, and they look up to me in that similar way. And there's a lot of pressure there because I worry that, if I'm really tired or I have an off moment or I'm not really in the mood to talk to somebody,
Mhm.
that I'm gonna traumatize them or something. And it is hard to remember that, but I am very thankful when I meet inspirations that are really kind and take time to like be excited with me about similar stuff. And it was pretty surreal and great. And then to hear that I like inspired him was really strange and awesome. So it was great. Very
And
nice person.
and before we move on from the MythBusters subject, I do want to ask, since you are a MythBusters fan, besides Adam Savage, who would you say is your favorite cast member of MythBusters?
I mean, I Jamie was cool too. They were all great. I think Adam was pretty much the main character in my opinion,
Mhm.
and I think most people related to him. Jamie was funny with his like walrus beard, but her mustache. But Grant was also really good. I'm really sad that he passed away. That's incredibly sad. But I haven't watched the show in a long time, and I'd like to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah. So
Everyone in it was great.
so not a Carrie fan, not
No,
not
I
a
love all of them. But I it's funny. I don't remember. I think I was young enough when they came out that I didn't like super personify any of them. I think I just really loved what they were all doing as a whole. But obviously, like Jamie and Adam were the main ones that were in it the most. So I think I connected with them the most.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to favorite TV shows, you always have your favorites. I mean,
Yeah.
sadly, the entire cast are the favorites, but obviously, that's, I mean, hey, everybody's different. And that's what's great about, nowadays television is that you could say, you know what? I so love this one person in this one TV show that I watched like 10 years ago. Or,
Yeah. Well,
it,
and now I love watching Tested, which is Adam's YouTube series, and it like is inspiring in a whole nother way, a new way. And so I definitely love seeing that kind of continuation of the next generation of Adam Savage's content, and it's fun for me to watch as a YouTuber myself.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And speaking about the YouTuber known as TaylorTries, you do create this community for not only for the juggling perspective, but also just a community for basically everyone. And, for those who are not jugglers that want to try, or they're just interested in saying, hey, like, I like your content, maybe I'll join this community and I'll see who's there. And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about the communities that you made on Discord, which you could also join down below. If you are a member of the Patreon family, which is known as the Otter Club, link will be down in the description as well. I should have made graphics and banners for those, but I do apologize. But yeah, so can you talk to us about? I think we also touched this on the last time we interviewed as well, but kind of if you kind of could go more into detail of like how important is it for you to, really create those communities with other people?
Oh, it's probably what I think about the most. I like my whole entire purpose, or the thing that I strive for on YouTube and creating content, is on one hand to do the things that I love, which I love just exploring new things. So I really want to make that a priority. But the second, like, tied in terms of importance thing that I really, really strive for is to create, um, to make trying things accessible and not intimidating to people. And I think a big part of that is a community. I love facilitating that within our Patreon community, where people can ask questions and they can get feedback, not just from me, but from each other, because I think that's also really important. Being able to just get advice from people who are into the same thing as you. Again, it comes back to that. That's how you go to events and things like that. But with the internet, we have such a means of doing that now. And juggling has a couple of those like micro communities, like on Facebook. There's a couple. There's one on Reddit, but none of them are like super strong. A lot of them have a lot of drama. They're not super cohesive and helpful, especially to beginners. And so I'm really happy I can do that in a small way. I mean, you have to pay to get in, which is sad, but it's only $2. But I have thought about expanding it and doing one for just fans, but I just currently have a hard time keeping up with the things that I can. But I eventually want to even do, I'm creating a website that I want to start putting resources on so people can actively, if they want to try anything that I've tried, there's like instructions and resources that would link back to communities and things like that. So I think about that all the time. I don't want anyone to have a valid excuse why they couldn't do a thing. Because I hear a lot of excuses, and I have them in my head too when I find something too intimidating or big. And, they range from, oh, that's going to be really hard, which is only true if you don't know how to break it down, and that's where research comes in. Or it's going to be too expensive, which again comes down to knowing the right tools. Or I don't know where to go next. And that's a big one, even with juggling. Like, after I learn how to juggle, what are the next tricks? And that's where that community and resource guides can come in.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. And once again, for those who don't know, you can definitely support TaylorTries, which is pointing this way, in this shape and form when you could join the Otter Club today. The link will be in the bio of this beautiful interview. So just one more time, that.
Yeah, and I do want to say, like, I feel like for some reason a lot of people feel really opposed to giving content creators money. I'm not sure why. I don't fully understand that mentality. I've gotten a lot of feedback saying like juggling should be free and all these things, and I agree to an extent. All my tutorials are free and all that stuff, but I think it's also important for people to realize that most of the people you see making consistent content online, it is like a job. It's not this thing that they can do in an hour at the end of the day. It's something that you have to put hours and hours and time in. And for me, the only reason I can keep doing it, the only reason that I'm able to make this next step is because of Patreon. If it were not for Patreon, I would not make enough money to make it at all sustainable. And I'd have to quit, which means all of that free content for people who can't pay would be completely gone. And so I'm super thankful to everyone who supports me on Patreon, from the $2 people to the $80 people, whatever amount people donate. It makes it all possible. I would not be able to make content the way that I'm going to and have.
Yeah, and it's once again, it's awesome for a platform like Patreon to give you the freedom and give you the creativity to give your fans and give people who are like, hey, like I want to learn more about Mill's mess, or I want to learn more about this certain pattern, like, and then go to right here in the in the bio,
Yeah.
give you that opportunity. Of course, again, nothing comes for free. We all know that at the end of the day, nothing comes for free. People's bills got to be paid. Their equipment needs to be paid, and et cetera, et cetera. But at least the least we can do is try to support and and it benefits. It benefits by getting this extra content. We have stuff like Taylor Radio, which hopefully will come back. We have a lot of stuff like extended tutorials, which is on Patreon as well. And of course, access to the greatest and the most bestest, if that's even a word, Discord server of all time, which is so many great people on there, from Kestrel to Henry Flies, for those who
Yeah.
know, not Henry Files. I thought that was Henry Files for the longest. Just so many great people that are willing and to help and to guide you to the right direction. And of course, there's even, my favorite part of the whole thing is that there's even two parts of the Discord server, which is called a mental health chat, which you could, talk about mental health and, get some, feedback, advice, resources as well.
Or just support. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Been
awesome.
many times where I've gone on there and just needed to talk to people. So that's my favorite part of the Patreon for sure. A lot of my patrons, I don't think, understand Discord and they get a little overwhelmed by it. But my favorite part as a creator is the Discord, even though I don't get to check in like every day or every 5 minutes, but when I can, it's just great. It really makes me feel connected. I feel like everyone on there is my friend. It's really sad to me when people are unable to continue their patronage and then they leave, and it's like I feel that ghost. And so it's so great. It really is like a great way to connect with my fans. I'm very thankful for Discord and Patreon.
And once again, this is not sponsored. Make sure you guys join the Otter Club today with the Patreon. You can be from the Otter Pup, which is only $2, all the way to a legendary Otter, which is a whopping $80, which I think that's worth it, because with that one, you get all the benefits included in the previous tiers, as well as a one-on-one private instructional tutorial video, or, a little
actual lesson. Yeah.
From Taylor, whether that's through Skype or through I believe it's through a YouTube video as well. So
for some reason you can't do Skype. Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure you guys join that today. And that was our little promotional bit for the interview. So anyway, so with this said, Taylor, I want to thank you for being a part of this interview and getting a round 2 edition, especially in a new environment. But before we go, I do have one more question for you, and that's kind of something I've been curious about as well. I think not only for myself, but also the entire Otter Club family, or just fans in general. And that's with this new chapter of, being in a new setting, being closer to home, because obviously due to COVID, this was kind of, the reason why you kind of came to LA as well was to be a part of the movie business, or the industry, and to, be in LA and go to all these awesome locations and Burbank or Pasadena, or even in your hometown of Encino, and then now, thanks to the current situation, you went on your new journey to Salt Lake City. So, with all this said, you did mention that this was going to be probably a permanent change for the next year or two. So, what is the next chapter, or what is the next goal for TaylorTries?
My goal right now is just to stick to that schedule I just posted, which is pretty intense. I'm posting, as you said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube, so full videos, and which is a lot of work just in and of itself. It's going to be fine. And then Tuesday, Thursday, I'll be streaming on Twitch and possibly also simultaneously to YouTube. I'm not sure yet. And then I'm posting on Instagram and TikTok Monday through Friday. So it's a lot of content. I'm hoping that it pleases all of the things I know and all the people. Like, I know when I started kind of focusing on YouTube, I let Instagram go away, and a lot of people felt that lack of content and of that they like, especially the little short videos. So my goal in this next chapter is to try to, I'm not going to please everyone, because that just can't happen on YouTube and the internet. People are not going to be happy no matter what, but a lot of people hopefully will feel that they can connect to my content in whatever way they need, whether that's just hanging out with me in a live stream while I play a game, or I juggle, or I talk, or watching me try a big new thing on YouTube, or just seeing what random little snippet I can share with them on Instagram. Hopefully most people will feel like it's a good addition to their lives, and that's my main goal.
Well, that's awesome. Well, once again, we are excited as not only fans, but also as friends and part of the Otter Club family, of what the next chapter is and what is to come, especially with the intense schedule. So hopefully by the time we're recording this, which is going to be a Monday, hopefully we can see that consistent content. I mean, if not, hey, we all know that life happens. So I believe, especially as well, I think as fans, we don't care really about how spot on everything is, as long as it's put out and as long as you're having fun. I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, and I definitely also want to make my Patreon more of a priority, with making valuable content for people there. And I'm going to get rid of a few rewards that I don't think people really care about, and then add a few that I think will be helpful, especially for people getting into juggling and trying to learn juggling. So that will be starting this week with not workshops per se, but little mini tutorials and exercises and more slow motion videos and all that. So it's going to be good. Hopefully it'll help everybody.
Awesome. Well, once again, Taylor, thank you. And for those who don't know, you can follow Taylor on and subscribe to her YouTube channel, which is going to be right here, youtube.com/TaylorTries, where you could definitely see all the tutorials that she is talking about. And if you want to go the extra mile, once again, if you want to go the extra mile, make sure you join the Otter Club today, which is the exclusive Patreon family, which is a great family. $2 is the minimum, and if you want to go the extra mile, you could chip in a little, an extra $80. That's not bad compared to the other Patreons that I've seen in the past. But anyway, so once again, thank you so much, Taylor, and hopefully. Once again, your journey will be as great as we all hope. And until we meet again, I will see you guys in the next interview or next video, one of those two. And I'll see you guys again soon.
Awesome.